This is a poem from my first book, 60 Sonnets. It's called Prophetic Outlook. Crooks run the whole world, and the Dow just fell. Crap rules the airwaves. All your best plans stall. The air is dirty, and your wife won't listen. Sad songs from youth no longer cast a spell. Cancer research has run into a wall. Some inflated hack just won the Nobel. You witness clear signs of decline and fall. The neighbors are cold, and your house won't sell. Your cat has bad teeth. Your paychecks feel small. Maybe you're really sick. It's hard to tell. Up ahead, traffic has slowed to a crawl. The world didn't just start going to hell. You just noticed for the first time, that's all. Good coffee. This next poem, you're also young. I don't know if you'll get the references in this, but I'm going to give it a swing anyway. This is called The Singles Scene. As a girl, she had an odd assortment of dolls, all missing their partners and mates. Cher with no Sonny. 2 Charlie's Angels. Her strange daydreams centered on absent friends. A Ken doll spiffed up who never dates. And a bionic woman who settles for nights alone. Luke, who misses Leia. Donnie, who pines for his lost Marie. While Ace Frehley, with no band, goes solo. Glinda, the good witch, has been stood up. A worthless compliment. She's sorry to see the single wrestler who never felt so low. Not worth much without an adversary. Sad as a graveyard on a summer day. The only thing worse than looking through for the next poem when you're in the audience is when you're the guy on stage. It's in here somewhere. Come on. I have all these flags and it's not one of the flags. Church Street. My friends quietly dropped out of high school. It seemed each week we had parties for some guy going into jail or getting released. It's not that anyone thought this was cool, only good wishes that the time would fly. And after 20 beers, he might find some peace. Now that I look back with no emotion, bless you, we needed parties. We liked company. We hardly needed a reason at all. Never sweet 16 or graduation, but funeral, fresh hitch in the army, baby suit for the sad girl in the hall. We'd vent, catch any reason not to grieve. Revel down days torn from the torn from the years we leave. Domestic situation. And this poem of mine, I have to say, is one of those poems you can't really control the poems that you write when they go out into the world. And this one has been put up by the Poetry Foundation. It was an American Poetry Review, Best American Poetry website, and then the government, the National Endowment for the Arts, took it as part of a Poetry Out Loud series, in which high school students from around the country compete doing performances of poems, and this is one they can select. And quite a few have actually selected it and gotten at least as far as the semifinals, because people will sometimes send me a text when they're in the audience. And I'm, again, deeply flattered by that. And I wonder that they let teenagers do this, but anyway, it's called Domestic Situation. Maybe you've heard about this. Maybe not. A man came home and chucked his girlfriend's cat in the wood chipper. This really happened. Dinner wasn't ready on time. A lot of other little things went wrong. He spat on her father, who came out when he learned about it. He also broke her pinky, stole her checks, and got her sister pregnant. But she stood by him, stood strong through it all, because she loved him. She loved him, you see. She actually said that. And then she went and married him. She felt some unique call. Don't try to understand what another person means by love. Don't even bother. I'd like to point out that that didn't really happen. The cat part, anyway. So when I say that really happened, that's my way of saying that. I hope it never happened. I'm a cat lover, and by a show of hands, how many people here have cats? Not that many for a poetry reading. Seriously. But I want you to know that I also have poems that empower cats. And I will read one of those a little bit later. One more of the sort of dark and depressing poems from my first book before we move on to dark and depressing poems from the second book. Am I allowed to use the F word? I know you were thrown out of the library for people.
That's why we're here.
Oh, so we're in a church, so I can hurl the invective in a church. Yeah, the use of rich language evidently got the program thrown out of the library in the year 2012. I can't believe it. It still happens. This is called A Sad Last Number for the Gentleman at the Tavern. This one is for all the aging fuck-ups. The guys who can't get their shit in one bag, can't find a job, much less get there on time. They struggle to grind tires out of deep ruts, but they slide back in. They will always lag in the long race, skid down while others climb. There are, as a rule, women, kids, and pets who learn not to depend on them so much, who go on with their lives, nurse their grudges. What keeps these men from growing up? What gets dropped behind them? Something must make them flinch from life's harsh contours, its many judges, as if they prefer to remain children, more loved and more easily forgiven. I'm going to ask everyone here a question, because I don't know. I'm 43, but is there still such a thing as in-school suspension?
Yes.
Okay, yeah. Well, that's where I was. I was always being put in there. And anyway, so this is a poem. Believe it or not, this one rhymes too. But the rhymes are like several lines apart. So barbarians and disciplinarians get matched, but they're 5 lines apart. This is called In-School Suspension. We sweated and dozed like barbarians in a deer hide tent at the height of spring's roasting heat, crowded in for various affronts, crimes, and faults. When one among us was handed from the disciplinarian's office a pink paper slip listing things he'd done that were deemed truly nefarious, to us hilarious, and to say he was expelled altogether from school, he heaved the heavy 1950s stapler from our minder's desk and hammered the paper to his head. The first two staples rebounded and clicked on the tiles. We were almost relieved when the third clinched, pressed deeper by his thumb, and seized subcutaneous hold. This caper did it. We were, for once, astounded. With the form draped over one eye, he smiled for us, turning slowly in the humidity. A satanic clown, our own Spartacus, for a sparkling second we won't forget. We roared and roared in our hot galley, piled up laughs till they hid any stab of pity. We all knew he wouldn't even be missed, as, clutched by the wrist, he loosed one last threat and was hauled from the room, and the door boomed shut. We never saw him again. One by one, we turned our faces downward and resumed, with the dust he raised, churning in the sun.